So to start off my part 1 of my Antigone video response, I'm going to focus on my personal reaction towards the characters Haemon and Creon and their discussion. And this starts on page 216, where Haemon says, "I am your son, father. You are my guide. You make things clear for me and I obey you. No marriage means more to me than your continuing wisdom." And Creon replies, "Good, that is the way to behave. Subordinate. Everything else, my son, to your father's will. This is what a man prays for, that he may get sons attentive and dutiful in his house, each one hating his father's enemies, honoring his father's friends. But if his sons fails him, if they turn out unprofitably, what has his father but trouble for himself, and amusement for the malicious? So you are right, not to lose your head over this woman." And seeing this first part, I personally kind of thought, yeah, Creon and Haemon definitely have a strong father-son relationship, but it does seem that Haemon is kind of sucking up to Creon, saying, "You are my guide. You make things clear for me," and just making him, I guess, feel like a perfect father. However, later on page 218, towards midway through the discussion, Haemon aggressively says to his father, "You are not in position to know everything. The people say you're due, what they feel. Your temper terrifies them, everyone." And this is when you kind of see their true relationship. Haemon is kind of growing distance from Creon, and Creon really isn't the almighty father that he says he is, or that he wants to be. And Haemon is just saying, he's trying to prove that he wants to, he's trying to say, "Creon, you're making decisions for everyone. You won't even let me marry this girl due to your large amount of hatred you have towards her." And then Creon says to his son on page 223, "I will carry her far away out there in the wilderness and lock her, living in a vault of stone. She shall have food, as the custom is, to absolve in the state of her death." And Creon just has so much hatred towards this one woman, and it kind of destroys him and his son's relationship. And that was kind of my personal reaction, just saying how they have kind of almost a fake relationship due to all their fighting and hatred. You are my treasure. You are my treasure. You are my treasure. Yeah, Alright, now for part 2 of my Antigone reading video response. I'm going to talk about imagery, diction, and tone for Haemon and Creon's argument. And I'm going to start on page 222 at the very top, where Creon says, "You'll never marry her while she lives." Haemon replies, "Then she must die, but her death will cause another." And Haemon here, when he's saying that, he's going to say, "If she goes, I go. If she dies, I'm going to die as well." And Creon replies to that, "Another? Have you lost your senses? Is this an open threat?" Haemon says, "There is no threat in speaking to emptiness." Creon replies, "I swear you regret the superior tone. You are the empty one." Haemon says, "If you were not my father, I'd say you are perverse." And Creon replies, "You girl-struck fool, don't play at words with me." And Haemon says, "I'm sorry. You prefer silence." And angrily, Creon replies, "Now by God, I swear by all the gods in heaven above us, you'll watch. I swear you will. You shall. Bring her out. Bring the woman out. Let her die before his eyes." And that's all the passage I want to focus on. But for imagery in this part, I feel like this whole argument discussion really does display a great deal of imagery, where you just imagine Creon and Haemon fighting, arguing profusely, just going at it, attacking each other, and how Haemon is just trying. And this kind of leads into tone with our imagery. You can see Haemon using a very aggressive tone, or as Creon says, there's superior tone towards his father. And having Creon have a superior tone, it kind of puts him in almost a higher stand against his own father. And I feel like Haemon is being very, very aggressive when he's trying to prove his point that he should be able to marry Antigone. And Creon is just putting it down, saying, "You are the empty one. Have you lost your senses?" And then, you're a girl-struck fool. And that's the part of the tone, how both of them are being both of them trying to prove their point. They're both being very aggressive towards one another. And finally, for imagery, for diction, I want to focus on the word girl-struck fool and perverse. And I looked at the word perverse, and it means of wrong or different in a way that others feel is strange or of offensive. And this little word, not even that big of an insult, Hamon won't even say it to his own father, as here Creon is not even letting his son marry a woman that he wants to marry due to the large amount of hatred he has towards her. And he won't even call him the tiniest insult with all the respect he has towards him. And a girl struck fool, you don't play at words with me. This is part of diction. Creon is kind of looking at Hamon to be the immature one, doesn't know what he's talking about, calling him a fool just because he's in love with a woman, and telling him not to play at words with me. He's using big words, doesn't know how to use them and what they mean. And that's how I feel that the diction's used in this part. Hamon's kind of attacking him, I guess, in the son point of way, saying how if you're my son, you don't have any superior over me. You're foolish and you're just immature, and you shouldn't be using these type of big words. And I think that's what wraps it up for this part 2. Thank you.